Oh, there's Ray Taylor. Oh, my goodness.
Check.
There's my former doctor.
Unless we're doing, yeah.
My Ray Taylor was my former oncologist.
Take your seats. We'd like to get started. Usually on Friday nights, we start the service with everybody singing together. I would like to do a piece tonight that you might not all be familiar with. It's probably about, 1983, so it's old. The verses will be repetitive, and you can sing it, and it's in English. But what it is, because this is Refugee Shabbat, it's reminding us as the Jewish people that we were refugees, not back in Egypt when we left Egypt and went wandering. Yes, we were then, but as little as 40 years ago, we were still refugees. So this piece will tell you about some of that experience. It's called Just Another Foreigner. Sitting in a hall in Kiryat Shmona with Jews from Syria, from Yemen and Iran. The only Ashkenazi in Kiryat Shmona. I can hear their laughter, but I cannot understand. Just another foreigner in another foreign land. But these strangers are my brothers as they take me by the hand, singing Aleikum Hassalam, Shalom Aleichem, singing Bruchim Habaim, Shalom Aleichem. I met a man from Addis Ababa. His skin was black and his features kind of strange, but he showed me a book that he said was the Torah. Spoke of his people, and Falasha was their name. Just another foreigner in another foreign land. But I knew he was my brother as he took me by the hand, singing, Oh, Tanastaling, Shalom Aleichem. They were singing, Bruchim Habaim, Shalom Aleichem. A woman returns on the streets of Odessa from looking for a job in the cold Russian wind. It's been 5 hungry years while she waits for a visa. She still lights the candles as the Shabbat begins. Sing it with me. Just another foreigner in another foreign land. But she's joining all her people as she follows God's command, singing, Oh, Zdarovya, Shalom Aleichem. She was singing, Bruchim Habaim, Shalom Aleichem. Welcome, my brothers. Welcome one and all. Welcome my sisters. Welcome one and all. Shabbat Shalom.
It's not a coincidence that not only is this Refugee Shabbat, but it's also International Holocaust Remembrance Day as well. And we recall those countries and those individuals who did welcome Jews in as refugees. At the same time, we recall those who kept their borders up and didn't let us in. I want to welcome those who have joined us remotely. Reminder to you all that we're using Mishkan Tefillah this evening for our prayer service. And if you have names for our healing list or for the Kaddish list, send those to JJ or in the comments section on whatever platform that you're on. I'd like to begin in respect to these two days, Holocaust Remembrance Day and Refugee Shabbat, to remind us of some words of an American humorist who the older folks in this group may recall, Sam Levinson, who once said, "Somewhere in the world there is a woman who is giving birth to a child. Someone has got to find her and stop her." And he also said once that we must learn from the mistakes of others because we can't possibly live long enough to make all those mistakes ourselves. But on a more serious note, related to this evening, he wrote an ethical will, which was attached to his last will and testament, that he wrote to his children, his grandchildren, and children everywhere. And I thought it was appropriate to share these few lines from his ethical will. To America, I owe a debt for the opportunity it gives me to be free and to be me. To my parents, I owe America. They gave it to me, and I leave it to you. Take good care of it. To the biblical tradition, I owe the belief that man does not live by bread alone, nor does he live alone at all. This also is the democratic tradition. Preserve it. To the 6 million of my people and the 30 million other humans who died because of man's inhumanity to man, I owe a vow that it must never happen again. And then finally, and appropriately for this evening, he said, I leave you not everything I never had, but everything I had in my lifetime, a good family, a respect for learning, compassion for my fellow human being, and some 4-letter words for all occasions. Words like help, give, care, and love. Finally, I leave you the years I should have liked to have lived so that I might possibly see whether your generation will bring more love and peace to the world than ours did. I not only hope you will, I pray that you will. We continue with our candlelighting, which can be found on page 3 and the blessing on page 2. We invite the Lopez-Hanshaw family to come up and light our candles for us this evening.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu l'chadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu We continue on page 10 with the singing of Hinei Mah Tov. Hinei Mah Tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei Mah Tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. How good it is, how good it is, how sweet it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how good it is, how sweet it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hinei Mah Tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei Mah Tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Shalom aleichem, salam aleikum. Shalom aleichem, salam aleikum. Shalom aleichem, salam aleikum. Shalom aleichem, salam aleikum. How good it is, how good it is, how sweet it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how good it is, how sweet it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hinei Mah Tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei Mah Tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad.
We're going to continue now with Lecha Dodi on page 20. And when we arrive at the 9th stanza, the very last stanza, let us all rise and face the entrance of the sanctuary, which is actually facing in the westward direction, as we welcome the setting sun and the presence and the coming into our hearts and our souls of this Shabbat.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Hinei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Hinei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Dodi kala, Hinei Shabbat nekabela. Dodi likrat kala, Hinei Shabbat nekabela. Shamoy v'zachor b'dibur echad, Ishmiyanu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad. L'shemo tiferet v'litila. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Hinei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Hinei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, Ki mekor haberacha, Merosh mikedem nesucha. Sof maaseh b'chag Shabbat tchila. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Hinei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Hinei Shabbat nekabela. Itoreri, itoreri, Ki va'orech kumi ori, uri, uri, shir daberi. Kvor Adonai alayich nigla. Lecha Dodi, כולם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Please be seated. For the sin of silence, for the sin of indifference, for the secret complicity of the neutral, for the closing of borders, for the washing of hands, for the crime of indifference, for the sin of silence, for the closing of borders. For all that was done, let there be no forgetfulness before the throne of glory. Let there be remembrance within the human heart. And let there be, at last, forgiveness when your children, O God, are free and at peace. We continue on page 26.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
Amen.
בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי. בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל. בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה. תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן לעלמה ואמרו amen. Please rise. ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך, המבורך לעולם ועד.
Page 30. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim b'chokma poteach sharim uvitvuna mishanei itim umachalip et hazmanim umisader et hakochavim b'mishmorotehem barakia kirtzono borei yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshek v'choshek mipnei or uma'avir yom umevi layla Umabdil ben yom uvein laila, Adonai tzavaot shemo, El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. Together on page 32 in English, everlasting love you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We'll rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Page 34.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai
Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Please be seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha vehayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Veshinantam levanecha, vedibarta bam, beshivtecha bebeitecha, uvleftecha vaderech, uvshofpecha uvekumecha, ukshartam leot al yadecha, vehayu letotafot beineinecha. Tam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkaru vasitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kadoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim Liot lachem le'elohim, ani Adonai Elohechem.
Thank you, Avi. Ozi, my strength, Ozi v'zimra Yah, God is my strength and my song. Standing on the far shore of the Sea of Reeds, our ancestors sang in honor of their own aching muscles, sore from slogging through the mud of the seafloor, and they sang in honor of the miracle of their freedom. Ozi v'zimrat Yah, v'yeh l'shua, my strength and God's song rescued me. Every time Jews have fled from persecution and oppression, from the Inquisition, from the czars, from Ethiopia, from Hitler and beyond, it has taken our own labor and effort, our own aching muscles and bleeding fingers, and it has taken a miracle. Page 40.
Adonai et Yaakov, ugalo miat chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai, God Yisrael.
We're a reminder of the old saying that more than the Jews have kept the Shabbat have kept the Jews. I think that for throughout generations, when Jewish families and individuals were on the run from one place to another, finding refuge, they did seek that kind of safe haven, both materially and both on Friday and Saturday. Perhaps they could find peace forever. Vishamru is found on page 44.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
So before we rise for the Amidah, I want to share with you a small part of a poem written by Warsan Shire, a Somali refugee. And I read her poem in the entirety on Yom Kippur in 2018. I'm not going to do that tonight because it's highly graphic, but it's a worthwhile read for anyone who's interested. So I just share with you some of it in parts. No one leaves home unless home is the mouth of a shark. You only run for the border when you see the whole city running as well. Your neighbors running faster than you breathe bloody in their throats. The boy who went to school with you, who kissed you dizzy behind the whole old tin factory, is now holding a gun bigger than his body. You only leave home when home won't let you stay. No one leaves home unless home chases you away. How do words, the dirty looks, roll off your backs? Maybe because the blow is softer than a limb torn off your body. I want to go home. But home is the mouth of a shark. Home is the barrel of a gun. And no one would leave home unless home chased you to the shore. Unless home told you to quicken your legs, leave your clothes behind, crawl through oceans, drown, save, be hungry, beg, forget pride. Your survival is more important. No one leaves home until home is a sweaty voice in your ear saying, leave, run away from me now. I don't know what I've become, but I know that anywhere is safer than here. We rise for the Amidah on page 46.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei
ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל העליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה, אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מחכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יעללוך סלה, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
We continue silently through page 60, either standing or sitting.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech Adon. Lechol Hasim le'olam, Hasim le'olam.
A reminder for those who have. Oh, am I off?
You're off.
How can that be? No, I'm on.
You're on.
A reminder for those who have joined us remotely, if you have names for our healing list, you should send those to JJ or in the comments section or whatever platform you're on. I'd like to invite Elise Lopez-Hanshaw to deliver our Drash for this evening.
How do I get it down? That works.
It looks good.
Yeah, that looks good. Okay. Arguing with God is a classic Jewish pastime, so I felt compelled to explore in this drash the actions of the mighty hand that freed the Israelites. God says to Moses, "Go to Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart and the hearts of his courtiers, in order that I may display these, my signs among them." And what was God compelled to demonstrate? Locusts, darkness, and the killing of the firstborn. God is making an example of Pharaoh and the Egyptians. In criminal justice, we call this concept general deterrence. Potential offenders will see the punitive repercussions of committing a crime, and this will make them think twice. But in practice, it doesn't work very well. As the restorative justice researcher Zvi Gabe points out, potential offenders are less interested in the harshness of the punishment they may face, but are more concerned with the probability of actually having to face that punishment, which in most cases is not very high. If general deterrence typically doesn't work, why did God choose this response? Why did he not instead choose to soften Pharaoh's heart? Would that not have saved a lot of time, effort, lambs, and firstborns? Restorative justice is about the person who harmed someone taking responsibility, acknowledging the impact, and repairing it to the extent possible. The key, though, is that a harm doer must be willing to admit that what they did was wrong. They must be willing to right that wrong. Unfortunately, Pharaoh was not in that camp. Perhaps the takeaway here is less about why God chose a retributive approach rather than using his power to soften Pharaoh's heart toward reparation. Perhaps this story gives us another moment in the year, as we do at Yom Kippur, where we can be reminded to think about how we can admit to and repair harm that we've done to others. What would actual restorative justice have looked like to the Jews, beyond the minimum of letting them go, which didn't even require Pharaoh to feel bad about what he did? What could restorative justice look like in our world today?
Can you give us the answer, Elise? Don't stop there. That was great. That was lovely. Thank you so much. We continue now with a prayer softening our hearts toward those who are facing illness and pain. So we look online, I hope. So we have in our thoughts and prayers from those who are joining us at their homes: Paul Hawthorne, Virginia Mann, Boyd Pomeroy, Sue Zakroff, Marcia Eisenberg, and Hava Bat Sarah. And we've recently added to our healing list Shari Thurston, Rachel Bat Sarah, Elizabeth Karyaloish, Jason Palmer, Mike Paluda, and Stanley Finkelstein. If there are those in our sanctuary who would like to offer a name for prayer of healing, you may raise your hand and do that at this time. Chris. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. John. Thank you. Rabbi. Sorry to call you out. Paul. Thank you. Louise. Thank you. Yeah. Marcia. Thank you. Thank you. And right behind you, Karen. Thank you. Lori. Thank you. Our Shebeirach prayer can be found on page 253. Page 253. You may rise spiritually or physically.
Shebeirach Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Shebeirach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with Refuah Shalom, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Please be seated. Because we've threaded through our service references to Refugee Shabbat, we do have a special speaker this evening. I just want to explain that I'm going to introduce the person who in turn is going to introduce our speaker. For those of you who don't know her, we're going to get Jill Rich to join us via the medium of Zoom. Here's Jill. Welcome, Jill. Shabbat Shalom. If you don't know her, by the way, people are waving at you in the sanctuary. You might not be able to see it, but they're waving at you. What you should know about Jill is she has been a powerhouse chair of our Social Action Committee for many years now. We could talk about her work with the American Red Cross. We could talk about her work with the homeless here in Tucson, but also just with reference to Refugee Shabbat, she's helped mentor and care for 54 lost boys of Sudan, a family of 10 from Ethiopia, more recently a family from Afghanistan who she's helped sponsor, and then to the present day for her work with Ukrainian refugees. And so, Jill, I'm going to turn things over to you for a moment to introduce our special speaker this evening.
Thank you, Rabbi. A little more than a year ago, as 2021 wound to a close, one could have hoped that 2022 would turn the page on what would have been a difficult year, one dominated by the pandemic and the Afghanistan crisis, and that there might be some peace and quiet and some improvement in the refugee situation around the world. But only 55 days into the new year, those hopes were dashed. Russia's invasion of Ukraine on February 24th initiated a major war that changed global refugee picture and brought the number of displaced people in the world to over 100 million. It's an incredible number. In the first months following the invasion, 1/3 of Ukrainians were forced from their homes, resulting in the largest displacement crisis in Europe since World War II. Tonight, we'll learn more about this. Our translator today is Luda Golchenko. Luda came to Tucson from Kiev and was part of the resettlement program for Holocaust survivors. She arrived here in 2003 and became a caregiver. She advanced to caregiver trainer and then to service coordinator, and she has done very well. Her daughter was 13 when they arrived in Tucson and is now an accountant married to a major in the Marine Corps. Luda believes that everyone who works hard in America can make it, and she's certainly an example of that. She's happy here. She feels safe and comfortable. Thank you so much for translating for us today. Our speaker today is Oksana Letsyuk, who came to Tucson for Mykolaiv, Ukraine, with her husband Igor. Unfortunately, Igor has cancer and was being treated in Poland when their city, including their apartment building, was burned and destroyed. Oksana is going to tell you the story of how she arrived in Tucson. Also here tonight is Oksana's mother-in-law, Olga Letsyuk. Olga, please stand up if you're here. Will Oksana and Luda please come forward and address us? Thank you so much for coming. We'll have some questions at the end, and I'll have some comments on how to help the Ukrainians.
Thanks, Jill. We'll take it from here for a moment.
Hi, my name is Lyudmila Gulchenko, and I will help Oksana to give her story and share what she went through.
Здравствуйте, я Оксана, мне 32 года, я с Украины.
She said her name is Oksana, she is 32 years old, and she is from Ukraine.
У меня есть маленький ребенок, муж, который, к сожалению, вот как сказали, заболел.
She said she have a child, a 5-year-old son. She has a husband. He is sick right now. He got sick during the war.
В Украине у нас была прекрасная жизнь, но 22-й год начался просто ужасно.
When they lived in Ukraine, they have a beautiful, amazing life. But when 2022 started, their life was changed.
В этом году, в начале года, мы узнали, у мужа ужасный диагноз. Извините, пожалуйста.
She said in the beginning of this year, 22, on the beginning of 2022, they find out he is sick, and his diagnosis was horrible.
Мы начали лечение. Проходило все, слава Богу, успешно.
They start treatment in Ukraine in 2022.
Но 24 февраля этого года, 2002, Россия напала.
On the beginning of 2022, war started.
Было очень страшно пережить это, потому что все звонят, все переживают, бомбят.
She said in the beginning it was so hard, it was stressful, they were scary because they don't know what to do, what's going on. All friends and families, they call them, just ask how you doing, what's going on. And war was started, but nobody knows how it's gonna be and what to expect and what to do.
У нас не закончилось лечение мужа в Украине, поэтому мы должны были ехать дальше, искать, кто мог бы помочь.
So the treatment they start in Ukraine, but it was not possible to continue and finish. They start to look into another place where they will have a possibility to treat her husband.
Мы переехали в Польшу. Польша нас приняла как беженцев.
They moved to Poland, and Poland accepted them as refugees.
Мы находились там полгода, пока муж был на лечении.
They stayed there around like 6 months, the half of year, until treatment was done.
Потом мы узнали, что есть такая программа, что США помогает, программа U4U.
Then they found out the United States start new program for Ukrainian refugees, what was called U4U.
Мы начали смотреть все пути. Свекровь, это мама моего мужа. Она стала нашим спонсором. Благодаря ей и этой программе мы выехали сюда.
Her mother-in-law, she became a sponsor, and because of that, and thank you for her, she helped with that, they were able to arrive here.
Сейчас здесь муж проходит лечение, он под наблюдением врача. Ребенок у меня пошел здесь в сад. Я надеюсь, что у нас жизнь наладится и будет у нас все хорошо.
So she said her husband continued to have some treatment, and her little baby, 5 years old, he started to go to daycare. And she did not say, I just want to add from myself, Oksana started to work as a caregiver for the company, what I'm working now. It's a Soraya service of Mosaic. She is a caregiver, and she works with 2 Holocaust survivors clients. They're so happy with her. And it's interesting and so painful for me. She is a refugee. She is helping to the family who is a refugee who went through Holocaust. So it's like circle, but symbol. We are together. We can go through that. We can help each other and build our new life here.
Спасибо большое США, что нас приняло.
She just want to say thank you so much to the United States to accept and give her family and her chance to build new life and build her new home.
So thank you so much. We really appreciate you telling your story. I do just want to check in with our congregation here this evening. If anybody wants to ask a question, then just think for a second. I'm going to ask a question now, just to give you a moment to think. But if there's something you want to ask, just think of it now. In the meantime, Oksana, I want to ask you, what specifically right now do you miss about your hometown?
О чем именно ты скучаешь сейчас в своем доме? Что больше всего тебе не хватает?
Семьи.
Твоей семьи.
Моей семьи.
So Oksana's family, Oksana's mother, she has 2 brothers, she has a mom, so they stay in Ukraine. So of course she missed them, and she is very worried about that part of family.
Absolutely. No, thank you. Is there anybody here in the sanctuary who would like to ask anything to Oksana? We can have you. And we also have the opportunity, if there's anybody online who wants to ask something as well, we do have the chance for you to do that as well. Anyone here who wants to ask? Yes, please. I'm just going to bring the microphone to you, Elise.
Oksana, what were your son's reactions? What was that like? And how's your child doing now?
Do you mean what was his reaction when war started or when they arrived here?
Yeah, the reaction when war started and having to leave home, and then how is he doing now adjusting?
Она спрашивает, какая была реакция у ребенка, когда война началась, и когда вот вам надо было уехать из дома.
Он очень сильно испугался. Он каждого звука боялся. Он когда слышал, когда была сирена, он бежал к входной двери и кричал: «Мама, бегом в подвал!»
Of course, he was very scared in the beginning. He was afraid of every sound, and if the sound was too loud, especially when it was sound letting them is bombing started, he just was run to the front door and asked, Mom, please leave fast, we have to go to underground and be safe there, we cannot stay here. А сейчас как?
Но сейчас уже более-менее нормально. Он слышит, что тут здесь безопасно, здесь нет сирен, здесь нет страшных звуков для него. Не надо бежать, прятаться.
So now he is doing way better. He feels and he knows he is in a safe place. It's no sounds like he heard in Ukraine, and he knows like mom is here, family is here, so he is safe. It's what he feels first of all.
Thank you. Is there anybody who'd like to? Let's get one more question from the sanctuary. I'm also going to, maybe two more, and I'm going to check if anyone wants to ask something online.
Are there any plans for your other family members to get here in the near future?
Ваша семья остальная планирует сюда приехать или нет?
Нет, она не планирует, потому что, во-первых, мужчин не выпускают с Украины. У меня брат военно обязан, его не выпустят. Мама одна сюда не приедет.
No, they're not planning to come to the United States because if you are male and a certain age, you cannot leave Ukraine. And her brothers, they are that age, and her mom, she doesn't want to leave them alone, so they will stay there.
It's not a question, it's... Oh, that way. Okay, thank you. I hope that Ludmila will translate this. Я просто бы хотела сказать, что мы очень рады, что вы с нами, что вы в безопасности с ребенком, с мужем и так далее. И мы с вами 100%, и все будет хорошо.
Спасибо.
Спасибо.
Did you understand that, Luda, to translate?
She speaks Russian.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
For us.
She just said she's happy Oksana is here, and you guys support there, and she believes everything will be fine.
You expect too much of us.
My English is okay, my Hebrew is decent, but my Ukrainian and Russian is sadly lacking. I do just want to bring one more question from our congregation, from Nancy, who's watching online. Her question is, what can we do to help?
Что они могут сделать, чтобы помочь вам, в чем вы сейчас еще нуждаетесь?
Я даже не знаю, мне нужен бы спонсор для невестки с детьми. Я не знаю, как это сказать.
Okay, she said she doesn't know how to say that. She's kind of little bit shame and embarrassing, but they are looking for a sponsor for her sister-in-law. And if you will know someone who is willing to do that, they will really appreciate it. For
her sister-in-law. Sister-in-law, yes. So if you know someone who can help with that, then please reach out to us and we can connect you. I just want to say a couple of words, Oksana. Firstly, we really appreciate you coming here. It's a big deal to stand in front of a crowd.
Он очень благодарен вам за то, что вы сюда пришли. Это очень большое дело выступить перед всеми.
I do want to say that even though many of us have been here in America, our family, for a long time, our families, many of us have refugee stories.
Несмотря на то, что они здесь давно в Америке, кто-то даже родился, многие из них имеют истории беженцев тоже.
So if you knew my family around 150 years ago, they would have been speaking Russian and Polish.
Его семья 150 лет назад, они разговаривали на польском и на русском.
Even though you can't tell that from my accent now.
Даже несмотря на то, что он имеет сейчас совсем вообще другой акцент, то есть вы не можете сказать, что его предки разговаривали на этом языке.
But we realize your story is much newer and much more raw. And so we're grateful for you coming in front of us. And we want you to understand that even though this is new for you, the story of being in a new place, it gets better. And all of us are evidence. Thank you so much for coming, and we're going to sing for you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Laugh at all my dreams, my dearest. Laugh and I repeat anew that I still believe in people as I still believe in you. By the passion of our spirit shall our ancient bonds be shed. Let the soul be given freedom. Let the body have its bread. For my soul is not yet sold to the golden calf of scorn. For I still believe in people and the spirit in them born. Life and love and strength and action in our hearts and blood shall beat, and our hope shall be both heaven and the earth beneath our feet. Laugh at all my dreams, my dearest. Laugh and I repeat anew that I still believe in people as I still believe in you.
I'd like to welcome forward Simon Rosenblatt, our secretary, to tell you of upcoming wonderful events and programs.
Thank you, Rabbi Cohen. Thanks as well to Rabbi Laucham, Cantor Cohen, and cantorial intern, or cantor-to-be, Sarah Bolt, for leading services this evening. And special thanks, as always, to Chris Tackett for adding to the beauty of our service through music. I'd like to welcome and thank Oksana and Luda, our special guests, for giving some insight to us this evening on what's been happening in Ukraine and what refugees are facing and dealing with. Ukraine was the birthplace of my maternal grandparents. Thanks also to Jill Rich for making this possible. I'd also like to welcome everyone who joined us for our services, whether here in person or via one of our virtual platforms. Thank you to Avi and her family for lighting our Shabbat candles this evening, and to Elise Lopez-Hanshaw for her wonderful Drash. And of course, thanks to the tech team back there in the corner for keeping things going behind the scenes. Torah study begins at 8:30 tomorrow morning, followed at 10 o'clock by our Shabbat morning service, when Avi Lopez-Hanshaw will become a bat mitzvah. Mazel tov to the family. If you would like the honor of lighting our Shabbat candles or presenting a drash on a Friday evening, please contact Eileen in the office. Join us next Friday evening for a Shabbat Shirah service, featuring the return of Sam Golden and Armon Bisman. The service will begin at 6 o'clock rather than 6:30, and it will be preceded by a light dinner. Please see your email or the website for more information and to register for the dinner. And join us next Saturday morning for our Shabbat morning service with the women of Kol Ami. And there'll be a Kiddush lunch following that service. And not forgetting our special family members, join us next Sunday, February 5th, for the blessing of our pets. The following weekend, February 10th through 12th, be sure to join us for our Dorson Scholars in Residence weekend. Please check your email for full information. There are several Jewish lifelong learning classes starting soon, so be sure to see your weekly emails and the website on an ongoing basis for information about our JLL classes and all of our other special events. Be sure to patronize our Judaica shop. Proceeds benefit our religious school and the Madrachim program. And please be sure to return your prayer books to the book rack after the service. On behalf of the Kol Ami Synagogue leadership and staff, I wish you a Shavua Shel Briyut, Osher, Ahava, V'Shalom, a week of health, happiness, love, and always that most elusive of all blessings, the blessing of true Shalom, peace. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Simon. Thank you. I just want to check in. It's really important, even with all the difficulties in the world, there has been wonderful things that happened this week and things to celebrate. I'd love to hear from 2 or 3 people just to tell us something good that happened this week or that is happening. Obviously, there's a bat mitzvah. That's amazing. But it doesn't have to be as large as a bar mitzvah. It could just be a small victory that happened. It would be nice to hear from a couple of people just to tell us. Jill Rich.
I'd just like to tell you for a moment how we can help the Ukrainians. We'll be speaking in depth about this at our Social Action, Social Justice meeting, February 12th at 3 o'clock on Zoom. Everyone's welcome. Just let us know if you're coming so we can give you the Zoom link. A brief preview. There is a new program from HIAS, Hebrew Immigration Aid Society, where 3 different families can get together and sponsor a Ukrainian refugee. You can find out more by coming to the meeting or calling me or the HIAS website. Mitzvah Corps is taking donations for Ukrainians, and we've already spent in excess of $16,000 helping with Tucson's new Ukrainians. They need help with warm clothes, food, rent, furniture, the list goes on. Please feel free to call me or email me, and thank you so much. And thank you so much to our speakers tonight.
We really appreciate it. And all that help that is offered for refugees is really good news. Can we have another couple of pieces of positivity before we recite our Shehecheyanu blessing? Yes. 2 of your 3 fractures are healed according to your bone doctor. That's so wonderful. Let's hear one more. Yes, Alan.
In anticipation of Purim, the men's club is starting to bake Amidah.
Okay.
We're going to be selling them. I believe first week in March is $16 a dozen, and they're yummy, yummy. They're really
Okay. Really good news for all the
rabbinic approval.
So we've been going around the synagogue smelling the gorgeous smell of the Hamantash wafting up from the kitchen, which will be on sale in time for Purim. For that and all the other good things, we're going to recite the Shehecheyanu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Shehecheyanu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh
Those watching at home who want to add a name for Kaddish, please do so now on the various platforms. Page 282 for Aleinu, please rise.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated for a moment. I want to offer the opportunity for anybody who's observing a yahrzeit, the death of a recent loved one, if you'd like to come forward now to take one of these stones in your hand, weigh it carefully as you think of your beloved, and place it on the table. Please come down to do that now. This week we want to remember those who were laid to rest or died in the past 7 days. Larry Mann, husband of Virginia, father of Michael, Lainey and Matt, grandfather of Emily, Bella, Cooper, Carter and Eric. Those who died within the past month, Roseanne State, Keith Ratuian, Jean Powell, Joyce Sattinger, Ron Feller and Edith Sobel. And those whose yahrzeits are observed this week, Ruth Edelstein, Irving Becker, Marvin Berman, Aaron Blitt, Harold Martin Brewster, Bessie Brill, Thomas Britton, Samuel Canterman, George Kossock, Ida Davidson, Margaret Dean Friedman, Robert DeVore, Norman Dritch, Madeline Duncan, Mickey Eigen, Betty Einhorn, Minnie Elwood, Beverly Elsweig, Joe Fernandez, Carol Gordon-Fist, Mura Friedlander, Morton Fuchs, Maya Gerst, Harry Goldstein, Maria Graham, Samuel Greenfield, Tilly Halpin, June Hegwer, Catherine Heller, Christine Hewley, Lillian Jaroslow, Barbara Janoff Kaplan, Abraham Kenner, Joseph Kessler, Edward Kolke, Elsie Kotler, Jane Kern, Fanny Martin, Charlotte Megdal, George Nadler, Paul Perrin, Anna Reisler, Andrea Robbins, Doris Rubin, the family Ryback, Isabel Sackman, Ellen Sosin Schulman, Paul Sagut, Seidel Sherman, Joseph Splansky, Stanley Steiner, Polly Stewart, Saul Side, B. Tigerman, Eleanor Turner, Vera Walensky, Felix Weil, Arthur Weisberger, William Werner, Janice Yost, Irene Zaslavsky, Philip Zuckerman, Morris Zuckerman, and Herb Zweitel. Do you want to add to those names? We also think of those lost in the Shoah, the Holocaust, on this International Holocaust Memorial Day. Avi is remembering as part of her bat mitzvah the victim of the Holocaust, Rajla Yazvik. We also, of course, think of those who died in the shooting in Jerusalem in the Neve Yaakov neighborhood today. May their memories be for a blessing. If there's anyone who we missed, you're thinking of them in the sanctuary, would you please say their name as we go around the room? Well, would everyone please rise to support the mourners as we say on page 294, Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ba'ama divrach Yerutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon uv'yomechon v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'gala v'izman kariv v'imru.
Amen.
Yehei Shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam l'almei amayah. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'a v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal. Shemei dekudsha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'miran ba'alma v'imru.
Amen.
Yehei shalom rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru.
Amen.
Oseh shalom bimromav. Hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru.
Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen. Yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen.
Please join us in Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav ורצבנו, ושבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה וראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר לציאת מצרים. כי באנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Amen.
Motzi lechem min haaretz, we give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together, as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
B'tei avon.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.